Nobody warns you that pretending to be someone else might just ruin your life. Or worse, make you fall for the one person you were never supposed to love. Started as a joke. A stupid, reckless, utterly idiotic joke. One night in a cheap apartment in Brooklyn, fueled by cheap beer and the kind of daredevil energy that only boredom can bring, I made the decision to impersonate my best friend, Tyler. He had this dating app profile he barely touched, and when he left his phone on the couch, I couldn't resist. I sent a few witty messages, tossed in some jokes, and before I knew it, I was knee-deep in a conversation with someone I shouldn't have been talking to at all. His name was Ethan, and he was magnetic. Every reply from him felt like a spark, a match struck in the dark. He laughed at things no one else did, called out my sarcasm without hesitation, and dropped these little truths about his life that felt raw, unfiltered. It should have been Tyler answering him, not me, but I couldn't stop. The first mistake was pretending. The second was meeting him. Ethan showed up at a coffee shop in Manhattan one rainy afternoon, and I should have run the second I saw him walk in. He was taller than I'd expected, with damp black hair clinging to his forehead, wearing a leather jacket that made him look untouchable and yet heartbreakingly real. And God help me, when his eyes landed on mine, searching, hopeful, I froze. I wasn't Tyler, but I shook his hand and smiled anyway. "Hey," I said, voice steady even as guilt knifed through me. "It's good to finally meet you." From that moment, my world tilted. The first weeks were intoxicating. We roamed through New York like kids discovering the city for the first time, even though both of us had lived there for years. We stayed out too late, drank too much, laughed so hard strangers turned their heads. With Ethan, I felt free seen in ways I hadn't realized I'd been craving. He wasn't just attractive. He was sharp, stubborn, unafraid to push back when I got too cocky. But beneath all the laughter, the secret gnawed at me. I wasn't Tyler. Every time Ethan called me by his name, it was like swallowing glass. Every time his hand brushed mine, I had to bite back the truth. "You're falling for me, but you don't even know who I am." One night, we ended up at his apartment. It was small, cluttered with books and sketches pinned haphazardly to the walls. He handed me a beer, flopped onto the couch, and said something that nearly destroyed me. "You know, Tyler, you're not what I expected. You're better." I laughed too quickly, hiding the panic in my chest. Better. God, if only he knew. It wasn't supposed to go this far. The plan, if you could even call it that, was to flirt, joke, and maybe let the whole thing fizzle out. But Ethan made it impossible. The more I knew him, the more I couldn't stay away. There were nights when we sat on his fire escape, legs dangling into the cool air, watching the city lights blink like 1,000 restless hearts. He told me about his mother, how she worked double shifts after his father walked out, how he hated the way people pretended not to see her exhaustion. He told me about his art, the way he sketched faces in crowded subways, trying to capture strangers before they vanished forever. And I listened. I wanted to memorize every piece of him. But every confession, every shared secret was stolen. Because he wasn't confiding in me. He was confiding in Tyler. The guilt grew unbearable. The breaking point came on a Friday night. We were at a rooftop party downtown, the kind where the music is too loud and the air smells like smoke and sweat. Ethan grabbed my hand-me-real hand, not the mask I wore, and pulled me close as fireworks exploded over the Hudson. For a second, with the city glowing beneath us and his laughter vibrating against my chest, I thought maybe, just maybe, this could be real. But then he whispered in my ear, "Promise me you won't disappear, Tyler." I don't think I could handle it. And that was when I realized I wasn't just lying to him. I was stealing from him, stealing his trust, his hope, his heart. I pulled away, and the look on his face, confused, vulnerable, nearly broke me. The confession didn't come right away. Cowardice kept me silent, wrapping me in excuses. But the cracks started showing. He noticed when I hesitated too long before answering questions. He noticed when I slipped, talking about things Tyler would have never said. One evening, sitting in the quiet of Central Park as the leaves began to turn, he turned to me. "You're different," he said softly. "Sometimes I feel like I don't know you at all." The truth burned on my tongue. I should have said it then. I should have ripped the bandage off before the wound festered. But instead, I smiled weakly, and he looked away, disappointment flickering across his features. That look haunted me for days, because I knew it was only a matter of time before everything collapsed. By the time the truth came out, it wasn't because I told him. It was because he found out. One night, Ethan showed up at my apartment unannounced. I was half asleep, the glow of my phone lighting up Tyler's name on the screen. Ethan froze in the doorway, staring at the photo on my desk, the real Tyler, grinning at some summer barbecue. The resemblance wasn't perfect, but it was enough. He turned to me, eyes wide, betrayal etched into every line of his face. "Who the hell are you?" The words landed like a punch. And in that moment, I realized I just lost him. He didn't scream. He didn't throw anything. That almost made it worse. Ethan just stood there, his jaw tight, his eyes cold in a way I'd never seen before. Silence stretched between us, louder than any accusation could be. When he finally spoke, his voice was sharp enough to cut through bone. "You lied to me. Every word, every smile, every touch. It wasn't real." My throat closed, but I forced the truth out, broken and raw. It was real. Everything I felt was real. I never meant for it to go this far, Ethan, but I don't. He held up his hand like a barrier, like even my words could poison him. "Don't you dare say you love me, because you don't even respect me enough to tell me who the hell you are." And then he was gone. The door slammed so hard it rattled the frame, and the silence that followed felt endless. The weeks after that were hell. New York, once a playground when I was with him, now felt like a graveyard of memories. Every coffee shop smelled like him. Every train ride echoed with his laughter. Every crowded street reminded me of the warmth of his shoulder brushing mine. I tried to distract myself. Work, friends, meaningless hookups, none of it stuck. None of it filled the cavern he'd carved into my chest. Because the truth was simple and cruel. I had fallen for him, and in the process, I had destroyed us. The worst part? Tyler knew. He showed up at my apartment one night, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "You should have told me from the start." I laughed bitterly, running a hand through my hair. "Yeah, well, hindsight's a bitch." Tyler sighed, softer now. "You really loved him, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Months passed. Winter came, blanketing the city in a harsh, cold silence that mirrored the one inside me. I avoided the places Ethan might be, but sometimes fate is cruel or merciful, depending on how you see it. I saw him again in late February, outside a gallery in Soho. Snowflakes clung to his dark hair, his hands buried in his coat pockets. He looked older, wearier, like the months had weighed on him too. For a long moment, we just stared at each other across the sidewalk, the city bustling around us as if it didn't care that my heart was imploding. I almost walked away, but then he did something unexpected. He nodded, just a small tilt of his head, but it was enough to keep me rooted. The second chance didn't come easily. We met for coffee a week later. The air between us was brittle, fragile, like one wrong word could shatter it completely. "You hurt me," he said simply, fingers curled around his mug. "Do you get that? You made me feel like a fool." I swallowed hard. "I know, and I hate myself for it. I can't undo the lie, Ethan. But I can tell you the truth now. All of it." So I did. I told him everything, how it started as a joke, how I hadn't planned to meet him, how every step deeper into the lie felt like drowning but also like living for the first time. By the time I finished, my voice was shaking. "I never wanted to trick you. I wanted you, and I didn't know how to stop once it began." For a long moment he said nothing. Then he let out a breath, his shoulders slumping. "You're an idiot," he muttered. I almost laughed, almost cried. "Yeah, I am. But," he continued, eyes locking on mine, "you're also the only idiot I've ever loved." It wasn't forgiveness, not right away. Forgiveness came slowly, through long nights of conversations, awkward silences, hesitant touches. It came in the way he tested me, watching to see if I would flinch or lie again. It came in the way I forced myself to be patient, to give him space, to earn back the trust one had so recklessly destroyed. There were fights. God, there were fights. Times when he threw my betrayal back in my face. Times when I almost walked away because it seemed impossible. But every time, we found our way back, pulled by something stronger than pride or pain. Love. Real love. Spring came, thawing the city and us along with it. One evening, we sat together on his fire escape again, legs dangling, the skyline burning gold in the setting sun. This time, there were no lies between us. You know what scares me? He asked quietly. What? That I'll never be able to forget what you did. That even when I'm happy with you, it'll always be there. I reached for his hand, threading my fingers through his. Then let it be there. Let it be part of our story, not the end of it. He studied me for a long moment before finally, leaning into me. His head rested on my shoulder, and the city around us seemed to fade. The night he told me he loved me again, really loved me, was nothing dramatic. We were cooking dinner, arguing over whether pasta should be al dente or not. I dropped the spoon, turned to make some snarky comment, and he just blurted it out. I love you. I froze. He laughed at my stunned expression, shaking his head. Don't look so shocked. You've been waiting for it. And yeah, maybe I had. But hearing it, knowing it was real this time, knowing it was for me and not the mask I once wore, it was everything. Looking back, I know we were reckless, messy, and flawed, but maybe that's what made it real. Ethan and I didn't have the perfect love story. We had lies, heartbreak, and a trail of mistakes. But we also had laughter, forgiveness, and the kind of love that refuses to die even when it should. And if you ask me now, years later, if it was worth the guilt, the pain, the long road to redemption, I'll tell you the truth. Every second was worth it. Because sometimes love doesn't start the way it should. Sometimes it begins with a lie, a joke, a mistake. But if you're lucky, if you're stubborn enough, it can grow into something real, something true. And standing there in the chaos of New York, his hand in mine, I finally understood. I hadn't stolen Ethan's heart. He had given it to me, and I would spend the rest of my life proving I deserved it. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.